Hello everybody, this is Music Lover 93.
Hi everybody, Michael DeSisto, Music Lover 93's boyfriend.
Yes, this is Music Facts-O-Rama number 6, and we're actually going to be talking about another composer. Since I mentioned we talked about Beethoven on episode 3. This time...
This is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Yes, and in fact, it's not only his favorite, but also my favorite composer. Since we all love Mozart, since he's he's definitely known that he's one of the most popular composers of all time in the classical period.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in Salzburg, Austria, in January of 1756. Yep, to his parents Leopold and Anna Maria Mozart. And we'll definitely talk about Leopold when we get to the first fact. So let's get on with it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so fact number 1. At the age of 4, he began playing instruments. Mozart's first instrument was the violin. Then he started playing piano. It should come as no surprise that Mozart was a highly regarded and respected musician in a classical scene. However, not many established composers began their craft at the age of 5. Leopold Mozart gave him piano lessons. Mozart was so young when he wrote his first piece for violin and piano that he needed his father's help, not to write music, but to hold the pencil. It's said that he was writing his own compositions at the age of 5. His first documented composition, a minuet and trio in G major, is listed as KV1. He eventually made it all the way up to KV 226, his Requiem, which we'll definitely talk about it much later towards the end of this video. Yes, he actually began composing at a very young age of 5. That's his minuet, and I've actually begun learning his piece. Wow, 5 years old. Yeah. Mozart is definitely known that he's a prodigy for composing at such a young age. I know for a fact that he's also got his talents from, of course, his father Leopold Mozart. He's a musician, but he's also a composer himself. In fact, Leopold is definitely known that he composed his Toy Symphony, which that was actually a really good piece from him. And I think it was also known for other composers too. Like they counts as also Joseph Haydn did this. It's also the same too. But yes, Leopold taught Mozart, but also his older sister Maria Anna, or nicknamed Marianne Mozart. Yep, she's the older sister of Mozart. So they're both becoming musicians from their father. Pretty interesting, isn't it, babe?
Yes, it is. Definitely.
Okay, ready for the next one? It's because we get to more of Mozart's childhood.
Alrighty. So fact number 2. From the time he was 7, he began traveling with his father and rest of the family to perform in various locations around Europe. Notable locations include the Imperial Court in Vienna and Prague, as well as courts in Munich, Paris, and London. Mozart wrote his first complete symphony when he was 8 years old. The symphony was written on the Mozart's family grand tour of Europe in London when they had to move to Chelsea during the summer of 1764 due to Mozart's father Leopold's throat infection. The house at 180 Ebury Street, now in the borough of Westminster, where this symphony was written, is marked with a plaque.
Wow, 8 years old when Mozart composed his first ever symphony, and now that was in E-flat major.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I do have I'm actually going to show you a little clip what it sounds like. Yep, that's exactly what it sounds like, folks. Because especially for an 8-year-old who can compose like that.
Definitely.
Yes, and it's definitely known that, Mozart as a child and the rest of the other family, they traveled a lot. They definitely toured a lot, especially Mozart for his performances anywhere, especially piano.
Right?
He's pretty confident for playing for the public.
He sure is, and, he's very talented to also be traveling so much as well.
Especially as a child. So, fact number 3. Now we get to something new about Mozart because now it's going to be talking about his operas. Yeah, Mozart has not only composed instruments, but also vocals, especially operas. So, anyway, Apollo and something, yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, was composed when Mozart was 11 years old. And it is in Latin, not very promising material, you might think, but Apollo is a truly astonishing piece, containing music of great beauty and dramatic insight. It is, of course, remarkable that anyone could write an opera of such quality at such an age. But in some ways, the achievement is unsurprising, given how extraordinary Mozart's childhood has already been up to that point. By the time Mozart turned 11, he had traveled extensively through much of Europe, including such as leading musical centers as Munich, Vienna, Mannheim, Paris, and London. Oh, yep, he definitely composed operas at a young age as well. And I believe his first one, it starts off as for a soprano. So I knew that you do like sopranos and you do theaters, like doing it in 18th centuries when it comes to vocal music. Not familiar when it comes to like operas, but I do know some of his operas. We'll definitely talk more about it when we get there. Okay, babe. Now we'll get to the teen years of Mozart.
Alrighty, so, fact number 4. After finally returning with his father from Italy on March 13th, 1773, Mozart was employed as a court musician by the ruler of Salzburg, Prince Archbishop Hieronymus Colloredo. The composer had many friends and admirers in Salzburg and had the opportunity to work in many genres, including symphonies, sonatas, string quartets, masses, serenades, and a few minor operas. I myself happen to have, played a good amount of symphonies, sonatas, and string quartets with of Mozart's, like in the past. 2 long expeditions in search of work interrupted this long Salzburg stay. Mozart and his father visited Vienna from July 14th to September 26th, 1773, and Munich from December 6th, 1774 to March 1775. Neither visit was successful, though the Munich journey resulted in a popular success with the premiere of Mozart's opera La Finta Giardiniera.
Yep, so he could continue composing more operas, and especially that he's still working on his symphonies, especially when he was a teenager. Mozart is definitely known that he's a fast learner, not only as a child, but also as he got older. It's pretty impressive because, especially Mozart is definitely because of knowing that Mozart is known for his high level of intelligence. Okay, now we'll get to fact number 5 to get to his adult life. Yeah, so now we get to that one. In late 1777, he fell in love with Aloysia Weber, one of 4 daughters of a musical family. She's a soprano. Regardless of the early cultivation of his talent, he was only just beginning to find self-actualization. She, on the other hand, was already a highly successful singer. While Mozart was in Paris, his father was pursuing opportunities of employment for him in Salzburg with the support of the local nobility. Mozart was offered a post as court organist and concertmaster. The annual salary was 450 florins, but he was reluctant to accept. Yeah, when Mozart becomes an adult, his father become controlling and overbearing, and especially some of the jobs and there are things that Mozart is not really comfortable with this, and it feels like and especially since he did not want to stay in his hometown, he wanted to move to Vienna.
It's not nice when his father is overbearing when it's it's his life.
Yeah, because Mozart's growing up, and he gotta live his own life.
Exactly.
That's what I felt bad for Mozart when it comes to that, and because Mozart wanted to leave his job, but it looked like his father will have a bit of an argument with him about that, being stubborn about it. But Mozart, of course, did not want to agree. So now he finally agreed to leave. So anyway, now we get to the fact number 6 for you. So this is where everything turned when it comes to love.
Alrighty. Well, after leaving Paris in September 1778 for Strasbourg, he lingered in Mannheim and Munich, still hoping to obtain an appointment outside Salzburg. In Munich, he again encountered Aloysia, now a very successful singer. Unfortunately, she was no longer interested in him, and she's ended up marrying someone else. After she rejected Mozart, he was now in love with her younger sister Constance. Constance was in many ways the perfect partner for Mozart. She was probably more than a match for his sometimes flighty, left-field humor. She was down to earth. She could run a house well. Mozart found her attractive, although he played down this point to his father.
Yeah, it seems like his father having a problem with that Mozart wanted to marry Constance, and even though I know this back then, marriage sooner is a lot different, unlike today. Because now in this generation we don't want to marry this fast, but in the 18th centuries they do something like that, which is different. But the truth is, Constance is still underage, and Mozart's already adult because she's younger than Mozart. Well, Mozart's already in his early 20s, and Constance was when they were in love with she's still under 18. But it's pretty much different when it is back then. Now we get to fact number 7 when it's about Constance. The courtship did not go entirely smoothly. Surviving correspondence indicates that Mozart and Constance briefly separated in April 1782. Mozart faced a challenging task in getting his father's permission for the marriage. The couple were finally married on August 4th, 1782 in St. Stephen's Cathedral, the day before his father's consenting letter arrived at the mail. The couple had 6 children, with whom only 2 survived infancy, which is Carl Thomas Mozart and Franz Xaver Wolfgang Mozart. Yeah, most of the other children were supposed to be born, but most of them died this soon and did not make it like that. So Carl Thomas and Franz Xaver Wolfgang are the only 2 survivors, so it just makes it 2 children who survived, which is lucky for them. Yep, they were happily married, and I already forgot to mention to the part that on 1781, that's when Mozart moved to Vienna with Constance. I'm glad he had a happy life.
Likewise.
Now the next one, I know you have a lot to say about that.
Oh yes. So on June 26, 1788, Mozart composed the Piano Sonata No. 16 in C major, K545. It was described by Mozart in his own thematic catalog as for beginners, and it is sometimes known by the nickname Sonata Seele or Sonata Simplice. 1 month later, he composed my favorite symphony, the Symphony Number 40 in G minor, K 550. It is sometimes referred to as the Great G Minor Symphony to distinguish it from the Little G Minor Symphony Number 25. The two are the only extant minor keys symphonies Mozart wrote, and Symphony Number 40 in G minor is my top favorite, since I've loved that symphony ever since I was 1 year old.
Yeah, and Symphony Number 25 is also in G minor, which it's definitely known. I know that it was also, I think, played in known from the 1984 film Amadeus with Tom Hanks. Which he did a great job as Mozart. This movie is a classic. Saw this movie, I loved it. Yes, it is true that it was already mentioned in Michael's autobiography that he listened to Mozart's 40th Symphony ever since he was a baby, and and knowing each melody of that at the age of 2. Correct?
That's correct, babe. Yep.
I actually love his 40th Symphony. It was great. Now, before we get to that later life, before he composed these two popular pieces, it's definitely known on 1787. We're going to be talking about the most popular piece, and it was played in commercials. It was actually known in English called, I think, A Little Night of Music. And in German,
it's called Eine kleine Nachtmusik.
In fact, I actually have a clip of from Family Guy of the Four Peters, and it is funny as hell. Take a look at this. That never gets old. I love this.
No, it doesn't.
The only difference is instead of in G major, he actually did it in C major. It could actually it actually goes for that key that goes for like Casio piano, for like in the Casio keyboard, and it's like that because I've known about it since I was a kid. Okay, almost to the end of that one. On August 10th, 1787, for fact number 9, by the way, Mozart composed his last symphony, which is number 41 in C major, K 551, nicknamed the Jupiter Symphony. So, why is it called the Jupiter Symphony? It's because it's the longest and most complex of his symphonies. Always hungry for commissions, Mozart almost never wrote a bar that was not dedicated to a commissioned work, least of all a major work such as a symphony. In 1789, Mozart traveled to Berlin, where he was presented to King Frederick William II. Mozart's last string quartets, 1789 to 1790, were written for the king, an accomplished cellist. Yeah, so he's doing something to honor someone like that. So, yes, this is where Mozart gets to his later life, and this is where parts when it gets really sad. And yes, the Jupiter Symphony was pretty good too.
Sure, it sure was.
Yep, that's his final symphony.
Yep, he composed 41 altogether, and that was number 41, of course.
From the age of 8, from the age of 8 to the age of, I believe 33 32 years. Yeah, 32 years old. Yeah, 1788. Yes, that's right. Okay, now we get to the final fact, which this is where tragic happens, and this is well known for that one, with something terribly happened to Mozart.
Yep. So for our final fact, Mozart felt ill while in Prague for the premiere on September 6, 1791, of his opera La Clemenza di Tito, which was written in that same year on commission for Emperor Leopold II's coronation festivities Around the same month and year, he composed another opera, which is perhaps one of his most popular opera works, called The Magic Flute.
Yes, the Magic Flute is definitely his popular one, especially for like, you know. Yeah, that's the one.
It has 2 acts to a German libretto by Emanuel Schikaneder, or whatever. The work is in the form of a singspiel, a popular form during the time it was written that included both singing and spoken dialogue. Mozart's final piece was the Requiem in D minor, K626. In late November 1791, Mozart felt severely ill. He struggled in vain to complete his Requiem Mass in D minor while experiencing symptoms that may have included vomiting, painful swelling of the hands and feet, pallor, weight loss, and a rash.
Oh.
On December 5th, 1791, Mozart died and his Requiem is unfinished. The circumstances of his death have attracted much research and speculation.
Yes, and this is very true about how Mozart died. And yes, this happened of a month shy of his 36th birthday. Mozart died.
Yep, that's right.
35 years old.
That's young.
Yeah, it's definitely known that he died, that he didn't get to finish his Requiem. So,
Yeah.
and I believe one of his rivals named Antonio Salieri.
Mm-hmm.
There's like rumors that he made, like, that he was accused that he poisoned Mozart, but it's not true at all. He's just, I don't know exactly what Mozart's cause of death is. It's just basically a fever.
Right.
Pretty much in the people in the 18th centuries, there's not really good medicines back then. I don't know. They don't. That's why most of them were died so young. However, we're actually nearly done with that one because this was totally different. We actually had some 5 extra facts. That's something that actually surprised people, and some people don't know about that one. So it did also include that he had a bizarre sense of humor. Among the other reasons, Mozart was an odd character. He quite literally had a potty mouth. He often used toilet humor in many of his musical compositions. His jokes, both of his regular life and his musical works, were extremely crude, and he often wrote poetic letters to family members, further showcasing this peculiar side of comedy. Yes, one of them that he actually composed that he did called, I think, a musical joke. It's in F major. I'm actually gonna play this clip so you know what I mean. Wow, crazy that he's doing this kind of stuff like that. We'll get to the next one like this. For the second one, there'll be a total of 15, by the way.
Even with the European average height for a man living in the 18th century, he was 5'5". Mozart was relatively short. Many historians claim that the composer didn't stand much taller than 5'4". He was much closer to average height in his era, but he would most likely be viewed as very small in global society today.
He's a small man, 5'4", as and as tall as a woman. That's when most of them are that tall. Yeah, we've seen short men like that. Now the third extra fact right here that's it's definitely known for how smart he is. He knew 12 different languages. Pretty impressive. And he knew a lot of, and of course he knew, quite obvious that he probably know English, but probably just a little bit of it, but he did speak English. Given everything on his impulsive resume, Mozart was somewhat of a prodigy. He tended to pick things up relatively quickly and garnered considerable knowledge despite his short lifespan. Being a composer of Austrian origin, he effortlessly spoke German, but among the languages, which I know German is their native language, comes to people in Austria. He was more proficient in. He possessed a decent fluency in Italian, English, and French. Yes, of course, he did. Yeah, he definitely knows some English, but probably a little bit, or I don't know how often he knew English well, but I believe he could do it, knowing, like I mentioned before, his intelligence and a fast learner. He had a fair grasp of Spanish, Russian, Latin, Dutch, Czech, Polish, and Turkish. Of the languages he held less proficiently in. Many Mozart scholars note that he may have understood ancient Greek and biological Hebrew a good bit as well. That's 12 languages. How do you feel about that?
That's very impressive.
Now we've got 2 more to go, and this one's really interesting.
Yes. He had many house pets, including a starling. Along with his love for music, Mozart had a soft spot for animals of all kinds. Resultantly, he had a dog, canary, horse, and starling on his property. The starling became his most well-known pet, who he would often use as inspiration to write and produce short melodic pieces. After his starling passed away, Mozart proceeded to write a poem in the dedication of the musically inclined bird. He also adored the starling enough to give it a burial in his backyard following his death. What is a starling?
I think it's some sort of bird or something. I have no idea, but I'm just gonna put it in text. But I never knew that he's a dog lover. Yes, he's definitely a softie, because Mozart, of course, he's not like Beethoven when he has like a short fuse and stuff. But Mozart is actually, definitely he's a caring man. But yeah, he does have a soft spot, for animals. So shows he cares, even though he had some moments that he could be stubborn at times. I think some people mentioned that Mozart may have autism or something. Could be it, knowing because of his intelligence and how quick learner. Perhaps he could be autistic. I don't know.
Possibly.
So the last one I wanted to mention is Mozart was quite the extrovert, which paired fantastically with his dirty jokes and a filthy mouth. Amongst friends he made in his field, he grew very close to the fellow Austrian composer Joseph Haydn. Yes, I definitely know that he's very good friends with Joseph Haydn, especially in that he probably learned something from him. He may be his pupil. Anyway, the 2 gentlemen first met in 1781 at Haydn's premiere of La Videtta. Mozart was already aware of Haydn's work while living in Salzburg, leading him to the premiere to meet the musician face to face. There's no abundance of proof that these 2 men admired each other, but they often played together on their respective string instruments. Yeah, Mozart definitely got along with a lot of people.
He sure did.
Definitely known for a lot of good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, folks. Well, this is all the facts about Mozart. So
here he is again.
Yeah, he definitely known for this Mozart figure. You could probably get them at Walmart or anywhere online if you want to get one of those like that to honor someone like that, especially if Mozart's your favorite composer like us. So thank you guys for watching. More music facts will be coming up very soon. This is Music Lover 93 signing out.
Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.